like to remind you as you're filtering in, please turn off your phones, at least to vibrate. We do not allow any recording off the telephones in this room. You can use the FTP site to pull down the full interviews. Normal rules, if you have a question, please wait for me to identify you, then identify yourselves and your affiliation and to whom you're addressing the question. So with that said, the housekeeping out of the way, let's talk about our folks here. Tim Tadlock, the head coach at Texas Tech, number 5 national seed, winners of regional in Lubbock and super regional in Lubbock. Their baseball SID is Matt Dowdy. Matt, raise your hand back there if you have contact information for Matt. Jim Schlossnagel of TCU, winner of the Fort Worth Regional and the College Station Super Regional, in which they eliminated the number 4 national seed. Baseball SID, Brandy Davidson. And Brandy, raise your hand. Okay, there you are. Kevin O'Sullivan, head coach at the University of Florida, the number 1 seed in the tournament, winner of the regional and super regional in Gainesville. Their baseball SID, Dan Apple. Dan, okay. And, of course, Gary Gilmore, head coach at Coastal Carolina, the winner of the Raleigh Regional and the Baton Rouge Super Regional, in which they eliminated number 8 LSU. Mike Kaywood is the SID. There's Mike. With that said, let's start with statements from each of the 4 coaches. Tim, why don't you start off?
Okay. Congrats to Jim and Kevin and Gary and all y'all staffs. Really fun watching you. Looks like all the teams are playing really well. Got some great staffs with these guys, great programs. They do a good job. I mean, I think we all caught a glimpse of Coach Gilmore's the Grand Slam down there, and it was a really neat moment for his program. And the other 2 guys kind of old hat for them, and we'll just sit up here and try to learn something from them.
Jim?
Coach Tadlock hiding behind that country drawl. Excited to be here, regardless of how many times you come. This is the pearly gates of college baseball, so it never gets routine. So, like Tim said, congratulations to all of the teams. Tim and Kevin and I have been friends for a very, very long time as assistant coaches running the road. So I'm really excited for those guys, and I know Kevin's been here a lot, but just truly excited for Coach Gilmore. I've admired his program from afar for a very long time and know what great teams he's had, and just a tremendous baseball program in Myrtle Beach. And so I was very excited for him to have this opportunity, and looking forward to competing with all of the great teams and student athletes that are here.
Sully?
Kind of echo the same things. This trip never gets old. I think it was our 5th time in the last 7 years, and sometimes it's hard to wrap your head around the success that our players have had on the field. And ultimately, I'm just really awfully excited for our staff, the administration, our players, and know how much hard work they put into this thing. And I've known Gary for many years from my time at Clemson, and have always respected Gary and his program, and I know Kevin Schnall very well, and just awfully excited that Gary has an opportunity to do this, because it's obviously a long time coming, and certainly the people in the baseball world know how good of a program Gary's had for many years. And Jim's been here 3 years in a row, I believe, and Tim's been here 2 out of the last 3. So I think it's a great field. It's going to be an awful lot of fun. It's going to be very competitive, and I know everybody feels the same way about each other. We all get along very well, and like I said, it should be a great week of baseball.
Gary?
Guys, thank you very much for the compliments and everything about our program. Thank you very much. It's been 21 years of sweat and toil at a small mid-major trying to build a program, and watch these guys from afar, coached against Sully. So, it's just a great honor to be here. What a fantastic opportunity and experience for my kids. I think if any of you watched the emotion that came out of my group at the end of that game at LSU, you know how much this opportunity means to us, just to be here and experience what these guys have had an opportunity to do multiple times. And some of the best coaches in the entire country are here, sitting right here at these tables, and I just really appreciate the kind words and the opportunity and the experience we're going to have.
Okay, if you have a question, raise your hand. We'll get Jill or Suzanne a mic over to you. And once again, please, no video recording in this room. You can use the FTP site, but do not use your phone to record anything in here. Let's start back here with Eric.
Eric Olson with the Associated Press. Could each of the coaches just say who their starting pitcher will be for their opener?
Tim, we'll come down the line.
Stephen Gingrey.
Jared Janzak.
Logan Shore.
Andrew Beckwith.
Okay, over on this side, Jill right up here in front.
Tim, Andrew Doak with K-Mac and Lubbock. Obviously, you've talked about teams becoming great and still evolving throughout the end of the year. How different do you expect your Tech team and TCU team to play differently since the last time that you saw them about over a month ago?
Well, if I knew what to expect, it'd be easy. So, I mean, what we'll try to do is prepare between now and Sunday and line up and play. And neat thing about this game is you see something different every day. And I don't really know what to expect other than I know they're playing a great brand of baseball. They played really good baseball as of late. And do definitely expect to get that. As far as our bunch, I mean, like I said, I mean, all you can do is what you can do is go prepare and get ready to play.
We have someplace in the back here. Suzanne's getting to you. Okay, Howard.
Good morning, everybody. Coaches, congratulations for getting here to Omaha. For all the coaches, talk about your defense and especially the arms in the outfield because the park plays big.
Tim, we'll start with you.
You realize that could be a long answer from all these guys, right? I mean, there's quite a bit to be talked about there. We can play a little defense in the infield. Our outfield arms probably aren't the best in the tournament by any stretch, but we got some guys that can swing the bat out there.
Slosh.
We've played better defense the back third of the season, both in the infield and the outfield. It is a spacious park. I don't think, again, we're about average in terms of arm strength, I would say. How often does that come into play in a game? I guess it did for us last year in the first game against LSU. But at the end of the day, if you want to become a better outfielder, go to the batting cage. So that's normally our philosophy.
Kevin.
Not quite sure what we're fielding this year. I know last year we feel I think it at about a 985 clip, and this year's about 983. We play great defense all year. We've got, our catching situation is great. We've got multiple guys behind the plate that have done a tremendous job for us. We've got, Dalton Guthrie moved over from second base, shortstop, has played tremendously for us this year, and we've got a freshman named Deacon Lippett at second, and they've been great together the whole year. We got another freshman at third base named Jonathan India who's played tremendous defense for us, and feel like, might have one of the best defensive center fielders in the country, Buddy Reed, and we played great defense, and that's pretty much what we pride ourselves on, pitching and defense this year, and our offense has gotten better as we've gone along, but we've been very, very consistent. I think there's two things we've done all year long. We pitched, fairly well, and we played really good defense. So, in that regard, we feel good about where we're at.
Gary.
Our overall defense has been very good, especially down the stretch. Our outfield, our arms are probably average. I call them adequate. Our athleticism is very good out there. Our team, for the most part, is an athletic team. So, we should, adapt to this park fairly well.
Okay, Eric.
Yeah, Eric Olson with the AP again. Kevin, you guys were here last year, a bunch of your guys. So much has been put on your team as far as expectations, from right out of the gate. I guess how do you feel like your guys are going to respond or are responding to maybe the pressure that maybe they faced all year, but maybe it gets amped up a little bit here in Omaha now?
Well, I don't know if it gets amped up anymore. I mean, we've obviously it's been well documented. Before we even played our first game, the expectation level. I think we've handled it fairly well. We've had some spurts during the year where we may not have played our best, but I think the SEC schedule has certainly prepared us for this, and we played some very, very difficult places. I think down the stretch, we played 4 of our last weekends. We were on the road. We played at South Carolina. We played at LSU. We played, obviously, in Hoover. We lost our first game and got to the championship game against A&M. Played a home series against Vanderbilt. So I think that stretch really probably helped us and defined us moving forward. But to be honest with you, I don't know if there's any more pressure now than there has been from the beginning. It is what it is. I think our players have handled it as well as they could have. I know they're excited about the draft being behind them, and I think, ever since, last Friday, the second day of the draft, I know there was kind of a big sigh of relief, and I think everybody was excited to move forward.
Okay, we have Lee back here.
Lee Barfnick from the Omaha World Herald. Jim, having been here 3 years in a row, just how much does that impact your general preparation and your kids knowing how to deal with what goes on in Omaha, the autographs, the barbecues, things like that?
Last year was the first year that we were here with, back-to-back seasons with the same team. And so I noticed a big difference with that club because we had everybody back. This particular team, we have an entirely, for the most part, a new club. We have a couple key guys back. This is not a position I don't think people expected us to be in. So I don't think, I think we're going through some of that first-time trip stuff with a lot of our players. The key is with our staff and administrative staff and our operations person, just knowing the routine of everything and knowing where to be and the right places to eat and where to go and all that kind of stuff. So we've tried to set up a good structure for everybody, but at the end of the day, the players are the ones that have to handle it. So we do have a lot of new guys going through, that first-time experience.
Okay.
Coach Schlossnagle, Andrew Doak with KMAC in Lubbock. Obviously, Tech's win over you guys in the series earlier this season was big from their standpoint, just from a Big 12 championship perspective. But I heard after the game you challenged your team and really called them out publicly. And how big was that, how they responded to how you got here at the end of the year?
I didn't call out our team. I called out our pitching staff, because I didn't think we were living up to the tradition that we've had of pitching and at least just dominating, throwing strikes and at least giving us a chance. And that doesn't take away at all from what Tech, did or the great season that they've had. So you'd have to ask our players, but, we've played for the most part pretty well since then. We have a lot of respect for their program and their staff and especially, the veteran club that they have. So now it's just going to come down to who plays the best. Every team here is really good, but I felt like talent-wise, at least talent and experience last weekend in College Station, the other club was much further along than we were. But you have to play the games, and as we say all the time, it's not about the best team; it's the team that plays the best. So if we play better, then we'll have a good chance. If we don't, we won't.
Okay. Yeah, right here.
Yeah, Kevin Brockway, Gainesville Sun. A question for Coach Gilmore. Your offense has been described as dynamic by some other college coaches. I'm just curious about how your lineup has kind of developed through the course of the season, and how do you view your lineup versus Florida's pitching and defense?
I don't know. Unless you get a big league team, I'm not sure how we're going to line up against that pitching staff and the defense that Sully runs out there. I honestly, my team, very, very proud of them. What we are is just a group of good baseball players. We don't have a superstar on our team. We don't have a first-round draft pick guy. We're just a bunch of, good country ball players that show up and compete, and that's kind of how our lineup is. We just scrap you in the batter's box, and our offense and stuff's built around being able to do multiple things, being able to use our athleticism to steal a base occasionally, being able to use a short game. We've hit some home runs. It's just an offense that somehow finds a way to try to score runs depending on what the opponent takes away from us. And that's been our key to success all year is finding one facet or aspect of the game that we can use to allow us to score enough runs to compete to win.
Okay, right here up front.
Carlos Mendez, Forward Star Telegram. Coach Schlossnagle, three of your guys, Mitchell Traver, Brian Howard, Brian Triglav, have been here 3 straight years. Can you imagine what that must be like for a college player and what it means to them?
Yeah, it's amazing, because I can imagine what it's like for me, and for those guys to get a chance to play on the game's greatest stage, and again, the pearly gates of college baseball is a phenomenal life experience and something that they'll have to be able to hold on to forever. So as a coach, I'm sure the rest of the guys up here feel the same way. You try and live this thing through the life of your players because they only get so many opportunities. If we continue to succeed, you know, coaches are around the game longer than the players are. So it's neat to be able to watch it through their eyes for sure.
Okay. John?
Coach Gilmore, John with Baseball America. What has it meant so far to the university and the university community for you guys to get here? What would it mean to stick around here a while, win the whole thing, to the not just to the baseball program, but to the university community there in Myrtle Beach?
I mean, honestly, probably as important as it has been to our baseball program, I honestly think it's bigger to our school. You know, being a 10,000 student university to to see your name being called out and all the people who have reached out to us, our fan base, I honestly think it has a chance to, and I know this may sound crazy, but we may double our fan base at our university because of this experience. And in every mid-major university, there has to be stepping stones to being something bigger than a mid-major. And going into the Sun Belt next year and starting 1A football, this is a huge stepping stone for our school.
Okay. Here from, okay. Carlos?
Coach Losnego, how much has Brian Howard really elevated his game, his profile here in the last 3 weeks for you?
He's done a really good job. He's been an up and down pitcher most of his career. Didn't really have a role in our veteran pitching staffs the last 2 years. In the last couple of weeks, he's really elevated his game. He's throwing 3 or 4 pitches for strikes at the bottom of the strike zone and being able to move his fastball around. And he's pitching like a veteran, like the veteran presence that we needed him to be going into the season with so many new players. So we wouldn't be here without him, and I hope he can do it a couple more times here in Omaha.
Andrew?
Coach Tadlock, Davis has obviously been your Friday night guy most of the year. What all goes into Stephen Gingrey getting the start, and is it a matchup thing maybe down the road with game 2, what you see setting up there?
Well, really, Steven earned the right to throw last week. He threw the ball really well. And Davis has been really good throughout the year, and both those guys have been pretty steady, and really just like the matchup with Gingrey.
Next question. That can't be all. Here, John. Attaboy.
Coach Tadlock, I'll actually put this kind of same question to you. What would it mean for that program at Texas Tech obviously getting here 2 years ago was a one step, but kind of what's that next step for the program, and what would it mean to the university
I can give you
community?
some history. Cheryl Swoops in 1993 and Marcia Sharp won the national championship, and they got back to town. I think there's 60,000 people in Jones Stadium waiting for them. And then on top of that, you multiply that times one of the biggest alumni bases in the state of Texas other than the university and maybe A&M and those 2 schools. And so in the state of Texas, you're talking about a great alumni base and a lot of supporters that would love to see that happen. At the same time, you're a long way from that happening right now. I don't think anybody up here really, we might talk about it privately quite a bit, but there's some games to be played between now and then. But if it ever happens, you're welcome to come. I mean, it'll be a big party.
Somebody back? Okay, I see. Go ahead.
Coach Gilmore, County Gascoigne News 13 in Myrtle Beach. You've obviously had a lot of very successful teams in your tenure at Coastal Carolina. What do you see as the difference with this team that helped you get over the top and finally make it to Omaha?
This group just somehow found a way to, do something that, that 2 or 3 of the other teams that were in the same position weren't able to do. They made a pitch, they made a play, we got a hit. We did something, that enabled us to do it. I've said it for a while. Their brotherhood, their closeness, that older group of guys, that junior senior group. I've had 2 or 3 teams in my tenure that were close knit like that. These guys will, 30 years from now, they'll be just as good of friends as they are today. And they're that close to one another, and they just simply don't let one another down. Some guy goes 0 for 4. There's another guy going 3 for 4 to pick him up. And same thing on the pitchers, man. We've been, we're not a very deep staff. It's just a group of guys that found ways to get the job done. Occasionally we get a guy go 7 or 8 innings on the mound. Most of the time we don't. Most of the time we're using 3 and 4 guys, and they just continually, one guy gets in trouble, another guy goes out there and gets him out of it, and we just keep moving on and moving forward. And they found ways to make that work. And I can't say anything about other than just unbelievable superlatives about their competitiveness. There's competitive a group of individuals I've ever coached.
Somebody back here. Okay.
Yeah, Kevin Brockway, Gainesville Sun. Coach Sullivan, obviously your team's very experienced, but you have a few freshmen in some positions. Deacon obviously at second, Indy at third. Any sense how they're taking things in so far, and how they'll handle this stage and respond to the stage in terms of some of your younger players and your freshmen and any of the older guys? Tell them what to expect.
Yeah, it's an interesting question, Kevin, because I think they've been playing great the whole year. I think they were fine in a regional, super regional. I think they maybe got a little bit out of themselves, so to speak, a little bit. But India had a drag bunt for a hit in the last game, which was big, and Deacon had a hit and run, hit in the 6th hole and stayed on the ball pretty good. And Nelson had a great practice on Wednesday before we left Maldonado, and we playing Reyes out there in left field as well. So we've had 4 freshmen. And I did not anticipate that going into the year, to be honest with you. I knew India and Lippett would come in and play right away. Did not know that Nelly and Danny were going to be ready to do this, and they've just continued to get better, and they've been really good for us. But you really don't know until you put them out there. But we've leaned on our older players, and we've got some things in place that we've already tried to do. Yesterday when we got here, and then this morning we've talked about some things and moving forward and try to do the best we can to prep them for what to expect. And, a lot of it has to do with our older players and leadership, and they've done a good job with that the entire year. So I would anticipate those older guys stepping in and trying to help. But there's some things in place we're going to try to do to help those young guys.
Okay, we'll start with Andrew.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Tim, now that you've had a couple days to reflect, how special is this senior group and just the building blocks of the foundation of the program that you've been able to build over the last 4 years?
No, I mean, you look at Goot and Nez Loney and Zach Davis and Dalton Brown, Corey Rayleigh's jumped right in there with all those guys, and Tyler Floyd. By the way, we got a young man that's never made a B, quite impressive, and he's in graduate school. He catches for us, and those guys have been, they've been really steady for us, and probably not the right time for me to start telling this group how special they are, but they are special. And, I know there's some coaches in our league that are ready for some of them probably move on. At the same time, I think there's a lot of respect throughout the league because they've played the game the right way for the most part and represented the league and the school the right way. And we're also fortunate we got them all back. I mean, last year there was a time where none of them were going to be first rounders, but they all could have went out and played, and they all chose to come back, and we kind of, our university has definitely benefited from that.
Carlos.
Coach and Coach Tadlock, how would you both describe the rivalry you sense between your two teams over the past 2-3 years? You played here 2 years ago, obviously.
Go ahead.
Tim. Or Jim. Go ahead.
I don't. At least on our end, I don't know that there's any more rivalry than there is with other teams in our league in the state. Certainly there's a lot of. I think Tech's alumni base is pretty large in the Metroplex, and therefore, they have a lot of players from there, and we have a fair amount of players from there. Two pretty different universities in terms of large state school and a smaller private school, but I think. There's a mutual level of respect there, and there's good competition and heated competition. But when the games are over, I hear our guys say positive things about theirs, and there's conversations between the two. It's just good, sound, competitive college baseball.
Tim.
I got all the respect in the world for Jim and his program and his coaches. Coach Sarloos and Mo do a good job with those guys, and. We know, obviously, the players know each other. I mean, there's probably quite a few guys that are friends on the team, on both teams when they're off the field. At the same time, I think both teams enjoy the competition and the venues we get to play in. I think when we go there, I think it's a great venue, great crowd, and great community. And I think likewise in Lubbock. I mean, I think you got a great venue, a great crowd, and great community, and great. Both programs are supported really well within those communities, and it provides an atmosphere for those guys I know that both clubs really embrace and like the competition.
Andrew.
Tim, last time Tech was here, you guys certainly didn't play like you were just happy to be here, both one-run ball games. But would it be fair to say the expectations might be a little bit different than the last time you were here in Omaha?
Oh, I don't know. I think the other teams played better than us last time when we were here. Ole Miss played better, and so did TCU. And as far as expectations go, I mean, I think everybody that's here wants to be here, and we all want our teams to play as good as we can to get to this point. And it's probably at this point, really, what you want your guys to do is trust what they go do. And as far as expectations, I mean, all of us got a game to be played this weekend, and you start talking about things like that. I mean, this game's played one pitch at a time, and that's how all these teams got here. And I know we have a group that knows the path, and I know all these guys, have a group that know the path. That's probably the easiest answer there.
Okay, Lee.
Jim, about Luke and Baker, when he learned he was going to be shut down pitching-wise for this season, did you have concern about it that affected his total game, or are you surprised he could continue to hit like he has?
As long as it didn't physically affect his swing, which is one of the reasons why we shut him down and didn't, do any further, injections or surgery or anything like that. As long as it wasn't going to affect his swing, I didn't think it would affect him at all. He's a pretty sound individual. He's a great student. He's the perfect combination of confidence on the field and humility away from the field. So I had no doubt that he would continue to, and he was a good hitter to that point. And but I do believe that he feels like he's missing out, and I know I am. He's seeing him on the mound. So we look forward to having him back next year as a pitcher as well as an offensive player.
Aaron.
Coach Tadlock, I think you used the phrase representing the league. And I'm kind of curious about how, for both of you guys, how important that is after, the Big 12 only gets 3 teams into regionals, and they're all here in Omaha. Do you feel like that kind of sent a statement to the rest of the country, and how important is it to you to represent the league?
Tim.
Well, I think we play in a good league. I think 9 teams could have competed in a regional that were in our league. I do think you could have gone to our Big 12 tournament, and you probably could have picked 6 teams out of that tournament and could have played really well in a regional. We didn't play so well in the tournament. There's some teams playing really well at that time in the tournament. And I think really what we all want is balance. I mean, we just want balance across the country, and I think the NCAA created balance when they went to 27 guys on the roster, and I think there's something to seek there as far as postseason baseball. Along the same lines, what everybody's been talking about reseeding after regionals. I think we all want balance. I mean, we want to be able to put 6 or 7 teams in like we did 8 or 9 years ago, and because you do know guys are out there working and doing everything they can to reward their guys an opportunity to go to Omaha.
Jim.
I've only been in the league, or we've only been a part of the league for 3 years now. So all I can judge is what I've seen relative, to everything else that I've experienced. So I feel like, that our league certainly is as competitive as any. Are there areas of our league that could be better? No question. But we know what's in our conference, and I know what it's like playing Texas Tech and Oklahoma State and even Texas and OU and all of the programs in our conference. And I also have great respect for the SEC, the ACC, all the leagues that get a lot of that publicity. I think in this particular setting, at the end of the day, I think what people forget about is this is a tournament. It's just a tournament. And so tournament baseball, whether it's played at the high school level, the junior college level, Division I level, you can't predict anything. If you start predicting that based on the draft or who's been the best team for 14 weeks, you know, it's not going to turn out that way. It's just not, you know. And it's about how guys play when they get in the tournament, just like some similarities to basketball tournament. So it doesn't surprise me at all that there's 3 teams here from the Big 12.
Back here.
Mike Lanana, Baseball America. Gary, with this being your players' first trip to Omaha, what's your sense just of their mood out here? Is there a looseness now that they're here, or is there some pressure just knowing how much it means to Myrtle Beach and your community there?
I don't know that our group can get tight. I'll be very disappointed if they do. They've never shown it at this point in time. It's just not who we are. You know, you have an older group. Those guys, they know they're on a big stage. But again, you know, let's be honest. You know, all the experience and talent of these guys, as well as the other 4 teams. I mean, I feel like we're playing with house money at this point in time. You know, we have nothing to lose at all. You know, there weren't many people thought we really truly had an opportunity to get here. You know, with some of the things we've gone through. So, you know, we'll be very loose and competitive, and you know, we'll give it our best shot.
Yeah, Kevin Brockway, Gainesville Sun. This is a question for Tim, Jim, and Sully. I guess to start with Tim. Something that you've learned from the first time that you were in Omaha that you've kind of carried over, or what have you learned?
Let's see. In 2010, I'm not sure the lightning monitor was working. I was up here when I was in Norman, and we played a couple games that one was really long, and there was a lot of lightning. I thought to myself, if there's a place to go, this is where I want to go, right here in this third base box. I'm dead serious. I'm not, like old Rosenblatt last year, I was like, just get me right here. This will be good.
You really want me to follow that?
Yeah.
I don't know if I had something as entertaining, but you know, I just continue to try and learn, you know, the right combination of giving these kids an opportunity to make sure they enjoy this as a great life experience, and also giving us the best chance to win. And that is the challenge, I think, you know, because in your own competitive mind, you want to make sure you win, and so the players, but at the same time, there's no bad day in this town. And if I ever got to the point where, you know, I've heard stories of, you know, coaches running players after they lost a game in the College World Series for some reason other than just bad play. I don't know if I would want to do it anymore. I mean, it's just, you know, this is a great life experience, and I think the best way to handle it is to just stick to the routines that you've been in, and keep them free and loose, but also focused on the task at hand.
I think from my perspective, I was fortunate to come out here 3 times as an assistant at Clemson, and it's a lot different when you're an assistant. And then when you get to be a head coach and you come out, and I think first time out here, I think things kind of sped up on me personally, and I think it sped up on our team. And I took great reflection after that first visit and tried to jot down as many notes as possible. And you know, we've talked about Kevin. I think one of the things the first year out as head coach, I think I probably spread myself too thin. Tried to do some recruiting stuff. There's some stuff going on right now, some important showcases and stuff that's going on. That we tried to do some recruiting stuff, and probably tried to get, you know, all 7 other teams scouting reports, and probably just spread ourselves too thin. I think the biggest thing for me was to totally commit 100% to our team after the Super Regional. And obviously we've got a lot of things on our plate throughout the year with recruiting and that type of stuff, and that never stops. But if you have an opportunity to win a Super Regional and you got a chance to come to Omaha, that the players in that locker room deserve every ounce of focus and energy that our staff has, and I didn't want to spread ourselves too thin. And that's quite honest, that's how I feel about it. And, you know, but you learn every time you come out, and, you know, they have to have fun. There is a fine line. You know, we're out here for a reason, and that's to hopefully, you know, play our best and win a national championship. But at the same token, it needs to be fun. It's a fine line, and you just kind of lean on your players and try to get as much feedback from them as you possibly can, and just try to put them in the best position possible. So, I mean, quite honestly, that's about as honest an answer as I can give you.
Hey, Carlos?
Coach, what's your relationship like with Coach Tadlock? It seems like he cracks you up quite a bit. I mean, Coach, what have you learned from each other?
Here we go.
You know, I mean, I wish I consider us great friends, for sure. I wish, Lubbock was a little closer to Fort Worth. We could spend more time together. I know when we get a chance to hang out, we do. Tried to hire him at one point. I think he said yes for about 12 hours, but he changed his mind. But, I was the recruiting coordinator at Tulane. He's running a great junior college program at Grayson, and, so ever since then, I've had great admiration for what he does, and he's got, awesome family and good family man, and just have been very admire from afar, whether it be as a junior college head coach, assistant at Division I school, and now really successful Division I head coach. He's just done a great job, and doesn't surprise me in the least.
Cross-examination, Tim?
Got a lot of respect for Coach Schlossnagle and what he's done in his career, and kind of watched it from all the way back to Tulane, and then obviously to UNLV, and then to TCU, and we've become really, good friends since he's been there, and it's been a lot of fun. I even took my wife to the meeting last night thinking his was going to be in the lobby. The last 2 times I've been here, like, well, his wife's hanging out there. I'll need to take mine, and needless to say, I was a little disappointed she wasn't there. And
I wasn't.
yeah, and the whole deal about Sully saying he's not recruiting, while he's in Omaha, by the way, he doesn't stop recruiting. So don't even think that for a second.
Okay, any more questions? I'm going to leave them laughing. Media lunch at noon up in the press box. Practice this afternoon. Tech at 1, TCU at 2, Florida at 3, and Coastal at 4. And their games are Sunday. Thank you, Ben. Thank you. Anybody beats LSU?